Hey guys, what's going on? So I just got off the phone with one of my friends and we were just talking about the mask thing, and she was just basically saying, you know, she's been following the rules and stuff, but she was just like, it's getting to me, dude. It's getting to me. She goes, I feel my soul, like, I feel my soul deadening each time I put it on. I was like, that's what my other best friend said. I was like, that's what we know. She knows my friend, but that's what she said. She goes, I feel like every time I put it on, my soul gets a little bit darker, right? And it's like, and she was like, well, how do you go to Target? And I'm just like, I just tell them no. And she was like, oh, being black works to your advantage. And I was like, you know what? I've thought about that because of the whole racial tension and people being so afraid to be called a racist. But I'm like, I know a lady in her 60s that's white that doesn't put up with this shit. And I know a white guy who's a friend of mine who doesn't put up with this shit either. I mean, I guess I go to places that I know that's not going to hassle me as much, and I just tell them no. They're like, oh, excuse me, why don't you have a mask? I'm like, because no. And then I just walk away. And then, or, you know, some people might give me shit and I just throw facts at them. And I'm not nice, I'm not ghetto, I don't curse people out. You know, I speak loud enough though to, like, I'll probably speak at this level and be like, you know what, you know, these masks don't work and this is why, and I'll just give them facts. But I'm not like, these masks don't work, motherfucker. Like, fuck you, fuck this bullshit ass pandemic hoax. Y'all motherfuckers is stupid. Like, I don't get like that. I want to, but I don't. But I'm just saying, you guys are gonna have to get to a point where you're gonna have to own it. And white people, like, you can't be afraid to be called a racist anymore. This shit's getting ridiculous. Like, are you racist? Like, as my mom would say, when people would call me names, and I'd be like so sad when I was a kid, I'd be crying. They're like, are you an alien? I'm like, no. Like, they would call me alienation because my eyes were big. You know, when I was little, they would say I was an alien, and that would just, like, make me so sad. And Mom was like, are you really an alien? I'm like, no. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, no. I mean, yeah. I'd be like, yes. Yes. And then she'd be like, all right, then why are you upset? Like, get over it, you know? So, I mean, I kind of feel like that now. Like, I'm not gonna, you know, if I have a friend that's white and they're being called a racist, of course I'm gonna stick up for them because they're my friend and I love them. And I get more mad when people insult my friends anyway than I do when they attack me. But like, you can't let that be an obstacle for you anymore. Those people that are scared of doing that. If you know you're not a racist, are you racist? Do you have a hankering for, you know, lynchings and cross burnings? Probably not. Probably not, okay? So let people think that, and you know what? A lot of people say that shit because they know that they can trigger people and they can get away with that shit. And they don't even believe that, by the way. They just say that stuff because they're just like, oh, well, you know, they're like, oh, you know, like you're talking and then you disagree with them. They're like racist, and people are like, oh my God. Like, they'll just back down. They know that. It's a trigger word. It literally is a psychological trigger word. They're probably not in their mind thinking about the psychology and the NLP and the mind control behind that, but they know by observation, by the media, by the TV, what they're able to get away with. If they say that word, they're gonna get their way. It's just like a kid, right? A lot of these brainwashed people are in a state of permanent, like, arrested development. So it's like, you know, you're talking to a grown-ass, like, 30-year-old, but they're really like 7. So they know, right? Funny story. Okay, I had this student when I was teaching, and she would say that she was sorry before she hit somebody, right? She would be like, I'm sorry, whack. So she knew that if she said sorry, that people would be like, oh, okay, it was an accident. But she didn't realize that you had to say it after. But she was like about 5 or whatever, she was young, but she was able to put together, if I hit somebody and then I put sorry together, she had the order wrong, but she realized that most people would be like, okay, but she didn't know that she had to have the order right. Her ass still got in trouble. But I thought that was funny that she'd be like, sorry, and then she hit somebody, right? Not like hit somebody and be like, I'm sorry. But the point that I'm trying to make is people, you know, as adults, right, as a society, we learn by observation what we can and can't get away with. So, I mean, these are the times that try men's soul. I've already kind of been through that situation where I was bullied and, you know, psychologically, you know, it's like college was psychological. and junior high was physical and psychological. And I feel like even though like junior high is probably one of the worst times in my life, I would never want to have to repeat that time in history ever again, that it made me stronger. And now I'm able to deal with a lot of stuff that I deal today. And I think some people have not had that adversity, even as adults, where they're just used to just giving in and compromising. Or like I was having a talk with one of my friends the other day, another one of my friends, and she was talking about, well, she wears a mask because it makes other people uncomfortable. But I was like, you know what? That's very nice of you. But, and she's a very nice person. Like she's very accommodating, very, you know, I think service is the highest form of human job that you can give somebody actually. But she's one of these people that she's dedicated to being nice to people and helping people, making sure that everyone else is okay before her. But I don't think it's a good thing where you're in the state of mind where you're nice, so nice that you're letting your own health go to waste. Literally, okay? So you are like, you're letting your own kind of, what's the word? You're letting your own health deteriorate because you are so busy trying to make sure everybody else is okay. Literally, these masks, like you can get infections because they harbor bacteria. It lowers your oxygens and they don't work. So why are you wearing something that lowers your oxygen, that harbors bacteria, and you can get an infection? You can, it makes your face break out and it doesn't work because you're trying to make somebody else who's blatantly, willfully ignorant, uncomfortable. Hell no, I don't do that. I don't do that. I'm not putting my health in danger because people believe everything that they see on TV and they can't even, to the point where they can't even use their common sense, where they can't even see that, you know, hundreds and hundreds, or I should say thousands of homeless people around the nation are still standing, right? If this mask was so deadly, right? I mean, this virus is so deadly, right? Like why, you know, there are no biohazard bins, all the stuff that I'm bringing up, no biohazard bins, right? The other day on the interview with Barricade Garage, I was just thinking, I was like, I forgot, I had this lady that was like, I transported some of the tests, and this lady was like, oh my God, I have to tell you something. And I was like, what? She goes, it's the COVID test. Are you scared? Are you scared? And I'm like, no. And she's like, you're not scared of the COVID? You're not scared? I'm like, no. It's like you're giving it to me in a Ziploc bag. I'm not scared. So I'm supposed to be scared of this virus that's supposed to be like the most deadliest virus on earth that's caused everybody to shut down. The whole world is shut down. And you're handing it to me in a Ziploc bag? Lady, like for real? I'm like, you know, so I'm just like, you know, while I'm driving around to empty hospitals, okay, I'm like, there's nobody here, but the news says there is. Well, I'm watching a parade outside of a hospital that I just left that had nobody in it. After my friend earlier that day told me that her mom was getting laid off from another hospital, Baylor, Scott and White. They laid off like 1,200 people in one round because the service was so slow. So I'm supposed to be scared of this shit? No, right? And then it's the other thing is like the vaccine. Why are we celebrating, oh, the vaccines? And Trump is like, he keeps pushing that vaccine shit. Like, I want to take my vote back. Like, I'm starting to be like, okay, I understand that people have this religious belief in vaccines, but you keep pushing this shit. Like, I'm not like trusting your ass now. Like, I mean, I understand you have to be like optics and shit. You're like, oh, but like, don't be so like happy about that shit. Don't be like, I'm like, that's gonna change your DNA. You know, this is. I mean, I've done many rants on the old vaccines, which are terrible too. But nobody's even done any long-term study. Well, like they have never done any long-term studies on other vaccines, to be fair. But on this vaccine, they're like, oh, it's effective. It's effective at changing your DNA. It's effective at killing people. And the people in the trial saying that that there's one guy, AstraZeneca trial was basically saying they've killed God. I can't feel God anymore after you took the vaccine. So you're taking something, they're injecting something they're admitting that it's meant to rewire your DNA, your God-given DNA. Don't you see the spiritual war going on here? Very interesting, right? Nanogel with nanobots that reassemble itself. Oh, the smart vaccines. No, fuck that shit. I'm gonna call it the cyborg jab. fucking turn you into a cyborg. I ain't taking that shit. And this is the thing though. People are sending me stuff on vaccines, which is fine, which I appreciate, but I'm also like, you know, if they're like, oh, they're gonna mandate it, or oh, they're gonna push it, or oh, I've just come to that resolve with myself that I'm gonna die before taking that vaccine. Like, I really mean that. I'm not going to let so I'm cleared, my conscience, my soul's prepared. You know, I don't think that they're going to be, if it gets to that point, they're not going to be they're not going to be kicking in the doors just yet of people. They're going to use coercion and bribery, right? So now they're talking about, oh, you'll get a $1,500 stimulus check if you show proof of getting a COVID vaccine. And I'm just like, well, I guess I won't be getting that stimulus check, even though I need it, even though I need one right now. I won't be getting it because in the end, my health and my soul is more important than $1,500. Like, no amount of money can buy my soul for that much. But there are people that have families and they don't know how bad vaccines are, so they're gonna do that. You know, I pray for those people because, I mean, I understand their position, but they don't know. They don't know, right? So they're gonna take, you know, they're gonna get those group of people, and they're also gonna be like, oh, you can't have a job, you can't fly, you can't do this, you can't, you know, blah 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 without the vaccine, even though it's a 99% success rate, even though there is, you know, there are therapeutics that actually work, even though, you know, vaccines are a preventative. So if you haven't gotten it, and you can most likely survive it, why get a vaccine in the first place? These are just things that people aren't thinking, and they're just being led by fear and being led by what the television is telling them, and led by these fake ass scientists that are basically, you know, they're mass murderers. They're mass murderers, right? They're like, I just listened to this testimony of this cardiologist who was basically saying that, they were saying that hydroxychloroquine causes scars in the heart. They put out this fake ass study. Right? I saw this basically, yeah. And he was saying that this is fraud. I'm a cardiologist. That's bullshit. The hydroxychloroquine, you know, works. They've been giving it to lupus patients, and lupus people have really a compromised immune system. So if they're not dropping dead over it, then personally, I just want to say I don't have any. I haven't taken hydroxychloroquine, but if people want to take it in emergencies, I can see why it can be effective because it's anti-inflammatory. So if you're having a breathing issues and you're inflamed, it's gonna bring that inflammation down really fast. I can see how it would work. But personally, I would choose the vitamin C over I'm nerding out right now, and zinc over the hydroxychloroquine, because that works too. But I prefer more natural forms, because when you take stuff naturally, your body processes it easier. When you're taking more like lab chemical stuff that your body is not used to working in harmony with, it causes more stress on your system. So hydroxychloroquine probably, especially long term, if you keep taking it, does have side effects. But if you need to take an emergency, fine, you know, but people should have that option to be able to do that. There shouldn't be all this corruption around, you know, trying to make people think that it's unsafe so they can push this fucking vaccine that's going to kill people and steal people's souls. Like, and people are celebrating it. And I was in the comment section of this science, and they're just like, oh, like the vaccine, like, you know, yay, like science. And I was like, y'all are sheep. And I'm like, bah, y'all are sheep. I just can't. And I won't be taking it. So I think though, like I said, enough people will push back eventually if it gets to that point. But you know, they're basically also, it was Ben Swan. I don't know, I'll see if I can find it. I think they took it down, but basically, it was like Harvard or Yale was one of the Ivy League colleges. They were actually doing a study on trying to manipulate people into taking the vaccine, because most people were saying that they didn't want to take the vaccine. So now they're just like, oh, like, how do we manipulate people into taking the vaccine? And basically, they were saying that they use things like celebrities and scientists and scientific opinion and that's the appeal to authority to get people to take these vaccines, right? Meanwhile, Project Veritas has their awesome CNN tapes that they've released, and one of the stories, I think it was, if you check, it's like 9/9/20, and in the first minute or so, they're talking about how somebody had a severe side effects to the vaccine, but they're just choosing not to report it. Oh yeah, because they're not going to tell on the people that sponsor them. These fuckers are sick. These are sick fucks. Okay. But I mean, it's not like, I'm not even surprised. I'm just so glad that they got that on tape. So like happy. So happy. But you know, it's people are gonna even know that exists and just like, oh, I gotta take the vaccine. I'm like, oh no. I don't, you know, there's just some people you can't save, and I've had to come to that conclusion. You know, I try and tell people as much as I can, because I think you get to a point where you know a lot of information and you're just like, oh my God, like nobody knows this. You have to tell them. I have to tell people. Then it's their choice. I can't be afraid of what people are going to think about me, right? You know, maybe there's somebody wearing a mask in a store and they getting a lung infection and they think they have COVID, but maybe because I'm not so outspoken about the mask giving people lung infections, they might think they have COVID, but they're getting infection because they're wearing a mask that's harboring bacteria. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta be outwardly spoken. You gotta start talking to people. You can't be afraid of being called names or what other people are thinking of you. This is the main mechanism of control, how they're getting people to comply, is really not necessarily through fear of the virus, but fear of what other people are gonna think of them. And that is the number one fear, is public speaking, which really means you're afraid of what other people are going to think about you. So, you know, really interesting, right? Just take that. So start owning this. Start owning it. You know that it's wrong, all right? You might feel embarrassed, but I'm sure when you do stand up, you're going to feel great. You're going to feel your soul starting to brighten up again. Okay. And like I said, I'm not judging. Like, I understand. Like, one of my friends was like, well, I don't wear the mask, you know, everywhere, but my son works at Whole Foods, so I don't want to make it hard for him. I get it. Like, you're forgiven, dudes. I'm not even like, oh, well, I just want you to think about, like, you guys, what was I saying before the Illuminati cut me off? All right, yeah, so I just want you to think about it. Think about, like, owning, like, the way that we're gonna get out of this is people are gonna have to stand up. And I think a lot of people know this and they're scared, but in the end, it'll be worth it. So for instance, good news, I think there's one in New York too, but my friend just sent me, you know, in Agora Hills, there's a bar that refuses to shut down, and you know what? People went out and supported them, and the police are like, well, I'm not gonna shut it down, you know? This is what it takes. It takes just people saying no. Nobody has a gun to your head. The only gun to your head is the psychological one that's to your head. You're not gonna die. You know, you're so afraid to die that you're not going to even live, right? You're going to let somebody tell you that you can you know, shut your business down, that you've worked, you know, for over a hoax ass virus situation. Like, come on, man. Like, they're destroying people's dreams. They're destroying people's lives. Like, the shutdowns are killing more people, harming more people, traumatizing more people than this virus. You know, and now there's even more evidence with the PCR test saying that it doesn't like detect viruses. Yeah, no shit. I've been saying that since March. I know that. I guess there are more experts that have to like confirm that. But I mean, you don't even have to know about the science behind how they test and how they isolate the virus to understand that this shit is bullshit. When you can like go to a restaurant, but you have to wear a mask in the lobby, but then you can take it off when you eat. Like, same thing on a plane. You can drink and eat on the plane, but you have to wear it on the plane. This is some bullshit. Like, what, you have a curfew because the virus doesn't like come out until 10 o'clock at night? Like, come on. This is not about a virus. And I would really like to see more people standing up and saying no. And, you know, when I do it, I'm not saying that I'm perfect or anything, but yeah, of course, you know, I get stares, I get looks. People think that I'm crazy, but so what? So what? I can breathe. I enjoy walking around stores and walking around places without wearing my mask. Because you know, I know that we're not supposed to wear slave muzzles. Slave muzzles, okay? That's it, guys. I just wanted to get those thoughts out today. I will see you Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Peace, truth, and love. Bye-bye. Mwah.